feel we're going tackling youth crime. Is community intervention working? And how does it work? I'm going to find out a bit more shortly, but I'd love to know what you think. 1300 222 774. Do you believe in community intervention? Do you think we need to be tougher on crime? Or does that even solve anything? Well, someone who knows a lot about this is Chris Lacey. He's the General Manager of Programs at the Les Twentyman Foundation. He is on the ground working with young people in community intervention and trying to make sure that they don't end up in gangs and that we can reduce the number of young people involved in crime going forward. And he joins me now. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Charlie. Thanks for having me.
Now, does that reflect your impression of where youth are at these days? The suggestion that there's been quite a significant drop in the number of youth involved in gang crime. Does that reflect your experience?
Well, certainly it's a complicated issue, and the police numbers are the police numbers, and what they're saying tells a really interesting story. Where we really would agree with the police is that, policing your way out of these troubles just doesn't work, and, we can't just keep arresting young people at the end point. We really need to be investing as much as we can into early intervention, and that's the work that we do at the foundation, and a lot of other great organisations do around the city as well. So
what sort of things do you do as part of early intervention?
So there's a couple of key programs that we run. One that's called the Youth Support Service, where we work directly with police and when young people, and schools as well. And when young people have their first interaction with the police, they're referred on to us, and we immediately engage them with a youth worker, which works with that young person on the challenges that they're facing and helps to, reconnect them and re-engage them. And this is the biggest challenge that we're facing at the moment, is that there's more and more young people disengaging with school and disengaging with education. And when that happens, the stats just show us that the chances of young people getting involved in criminal activity just goes through the roof. And so a lot of our programs, including YSS, but also the school outreach support program that we run in 4 schools around the city at the moment, and there's another dozen more that are keen for us to work with them. And that's where we actually embed a youth worker into the school, working full-time, and taking referrals from within the school community, but also doing outreach work. And that's another key factor, is actually working with families as well. Young people aren't isolated units that just do their own thing. There's a lot of influences in their life. And the more work that we can do as youth workers and as a society to increase the amount of positive influences, the better chances we are for those young people to get back on track and back where we want them to be, which is in school, focusing on their development and making sure that they're making the best choices they can for their future.
So when youth are disengaged at school, what is it about a gang that appeals to them, that makes them want to be a part of it?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why, and there's been some great research done recently by Code Black. They'd be looking at why young people get involved with gangs and criminal activity in the western suburbs. And it's worth kind of reaching out and checking that research. But a lot of it is around that sense of disconnection that they feel. They feel that school, that the adults in their life, that the police aren't giving them options that are suitable for what they believe their choices are. And so they're choosing to hang out with young people that are like-minded to them, that look like them, that respond to the community the same way they do. And they feel a sense of connection and safety through that. And so a lot of our work is actually trying to intervene as early as we can to say, well, yep, there's some influences there, but here's some positive influences in your life too. And, there's school, there's sport, which is obviously really important, big part of Australian society. We've got our own basketball club that we run in Braybrook, the 96ers, which has a couple of hundred kids running around each week playing basketball who would often otherwise feel unable to join mainstream sport. There's community programs. There's often cultural community groups as well, which play a really important role in re-engaging young people. And so that's, what we're trying to do is create the positive influences so the young people we work with end up being a net positive. And actually what we find through our research is a number of the young people we work with actually become positive peer influences as well within the school, and that's something that's really important as well.
Now, they've even got some texts coming in, and a lot of people see the stories of gang violence and gang crime, and they think that tougher sentences, tougher penalties are what are needed to solve that problem. Why do you think that doesn't work?
Well, the stats show that it just doesn't act as a disincentive. Young people don't think about going to prison. They don't. That's not just part of their day-to-day kind of thoughts in terms of the consequences of their actions. What the data does show, though, that is that the earlier we can intervene and connect with young people, create positive influences around them, the more likely they are to become more positive members of society. And the other thing is the cost. Like, it's $500,000 a year to lock up a young person in a prison. We can't just keep building more and more prisons and youth detention centres. The police understand that you can't police your way out of this. That's a community response. And we work really closely with the police, and they do fantastic work. And look, there are some young people that, will end up needing to be incarcerated. There's no doubt about that. But if we can create more options for young people rather than less, then that will, the data tells us over a long period of time that creates a better outcome, not just for the individual young people, but their families and the community as a whole.
It's a shame the data doesn't always match up to how the news reports these things. There will always be coverage of a crime committed by a gang, but not always a community basketball game that stopped a crime happening in the first place. Chris Lacey, General Manager of Programs at Les Twentyman Foundation, thank you for your time this morning.